anyone any advice, but especially women, just don't believe no. I just don't believe no. When someone tells me no, I just don't believe it.
Cher is rewriting the rules of what it feels like to be 78 as she grows older in Hollywood. This is a woman who commands the energy of any room she walks into. There's simply no way you won't turn your head to see who just stepped in. But that's not all. You'd find yourself gasping that a woman like Cher is still here, standing tall, thriving, and more radiant than ever, despite all the storms she's gone through. While her story is one of heartbreak, betrayal, and loss, she never allowed any of it to define her. But what exactly is her story? Stick around as we unveil it.
To give up other things, like, in my business, you have to give up a lot to get what you want.
Cher is 78. Try not to gasp. Will someone please tell me, when will I feel old? This is ridiculous. I keep hearing these numbers, but I honestly can't understand them. That was what Sherilyn Sarkisian, popularly known simply as Cher, posted on Instagram while reflecting on her birthday. The post stopped people in their tracks. They couldn't believe Cher's age. How can a woman who radiates such energy, strength, and presence be almost 80? This was jaw-dropping. Many assumed Cher was in her 60s, maybe early 70s at most. The way she carries herself and the way she works are unstoppable, bold, and stylish. They all defile every age stereotype. But how is she able to do this? The recent revelation about Cher's age has once again left many gasping. From Cher's early days as a pop singer to her rise as a celebrated actress, style icon, and businesswoman, Cher has consistently evolved, surprising the world with every chapter. It's like she's been rewriting her story and time itself ever since she burst into the spotlight in the 1960s with Sonny Bono, her first partner and one of the first people to believe in her talent. Her journey hasn't been easy, not by a long shot. What makes her story so compelling is how she's transformed her pain into power. For Cher, nothing has ever been handed to her. Since the moment she was born, life threw challenge after challenge. Poverty, instability, heartbreak. Sherilyn Sarkisian was born on May 20, 1946, to an Armenian-American father and an Irish-American mother, making her biracial, a blend of cultures that would later reflect in her eclectic persona. Her father, John Sarkisian, was a truck driver with a gambling habit. He was often on the road and rarely home, and when he was around, the money he made never quite made it to the family. It was usually lost to his addiction. Her mother, Georgia Holt, was a beautiful, aspiring actress and model. Unlike John, she tried hard to provide for the family. But she was doing it all alone. With no stable partner and little support, she found herself constantly struggling. Shortly after marrying John, Georgia returned to her mother's home when she discovered she was pregnant with Cher. At first, overwhelmed by her situation, she considered an abortion. But eventually, she returned to John and decided to keep the baby. Still, the marriage didn't last. When Cher was just 10 months old, her parents divorced. As heartbreaking as that was, what happened next was even worse. After the divorce, Georgia was forced to make a heartbreaking decision. She placed Cher in a Catholic orphanage. Financially broken and emotionally overwhelmed, she felt she had no choice. The nuns at the home encouraged her to give Cher up for adoption, claiming she could have a better life with another family. Georgia hesitated. Deep down, she didn't want anyone else raising her daughter, but reality had its grip on her. She left Cher at the orphanage, but never let go of the hope that she would return for her. Cher spent several painful months there. Her mother visited once a week, but even those visits were heartbreaking. No hugs, no kisses, just glances and words through a window. They weren't allowed physical contact. Georgia would smile, whisper words of love and reassurance, then walk away, leaving behind a little girl who couldn't understand why her mother wouldn't hold her. The nuns at the orphanage, however, wanted to give Cher up for adoption, but Holt refused. She wanted her daughter back and was doing everything she could to raise enough money to take her under her wing. It was a tough battle, but Holt was determined that no one was going to take Cher away from her. She sought help from a city council member who eventually stepped in and helped reunite mother and daughter. Years later, when Cher reflected on the experience, she revealed that she had once asked her mother why she didn't just walk in and take her back. Holt replied that she didn't have the power, the money, or even a job at the time. These were the things the nuns were looking for: stability, financial means, and a structured home. Without them, they had deemed Cher better off being adopted by another family who could supposedly offer her a better future. But Holt never gave up. Eventually, Cher was returned to her mother, and while they were finally reunited, the road ahead was anything but smooth. Cher experienced deep instability in childhood, even after reuniting with her mother. Holt worked part-time as both an actress and a model, trying to support her daughter, but the struggle was real. In 1951, while working on a film set, Holt met another actor, John Southall. The two got along well and married. Holt's third marriage. She hoped things would finally fall into place, especially when they welcomed a daughter together, Georgianne. For Cher, Southall was the first real father figure in her life. She later described him as a good man, someone who made her feel safe and cared for. But Southall had a drinking problem. When he drank, he turned aggressive and emotionally unpredictable. Eventually, his behavior became too much for Holt, and she made the difficult decision to divorce him. She left her marriage once again to fend for herself and her daughters. She focused entirely on making money and providing for them. But life only got tougher. With little to fall back on, Holt took Cher and Georgianne to live with her parents while she searched for work. Once she found a job, she brought the girls back under her roof. But the moves didn't stop. They constantly relocated: New York, Texas, and California, chasing opportunity and escaping misfortune. Holt's love life remained rocky. Over the years, she married 8 times to 7 different men, remarrying one of them. But none of the marriages seemed to last, and financial hardship was a recurring shadow over their lives. Cher recalled times when she had to wear rubber bands around her shoes to hold the soles together. Sometimes, they ate a single can of beans or stew for the entire week. Other times, they found themselves living in Beverly Hills as if luck had finally smiled on them, until it didn't. These ups and downs marked the rhythm of her childhood. Holt, ever resourceful, also got her daughters involved in the movie industry. Whenever a role for a child actor came up, she made sure her girls were considered. Slowly, this began to spark a genuine interest in Cher. By the 5th grade, she took it upon herself to organize a class performance of the musical Oklahoma. When the boys refused to take part, she filled in the male roles herself. But Cher faced unique challenges. She had a deep, unusually low voice for a young girl, and she struggled to see herself among the glamorous, idealized images of Hollywood beauty. She often described herself as unattractive and untalented, dealing with deep insecurities and a sense of not fitting in. Still, she didn't allow these feelings or her childhood scars to define her. At age 15, Holt married again, this time to Gilbert Lapierre, a bank manager who didn't struggle with addiction or chaos. He legally adopted the girls, giving them his last name and a chance at stability. For the first time, they had access to a quality education. He enrolled them at Montclair College Preparatory School, a private school in Encino, a major upgrade from the unstable public schools they had previously attended. It felt like a new chapter. But even in this refined environment, Cher stood out, and not always in ways she wanted. She struggled to blend in with her upper-class peers, carrying the weight of her difficult past into her new world. Her bold personality and striking looks made her popular, yet also different. She wasn't like the others, and she knew it. Still, she didn't hide it. She openly declared her dream of becoming a movie star, and many believed her because of the conviction in her voice and the fire in her eyes. Despite Cher's outgoing nature and aptitude in subjects like French and English, she faced setbacks in school. She struggled academically and eventually discovered she had dyslexia. But academics were never her main focus. Her heart was set on music. She loved singing, often performing for classmates, and even dressing like a star. She didn't care much about school. Her mind was always on something bigger. She wanted to grow up. She wanted to be famous. And soon, she would make a bold decision to chase that dream. Wondering what that decision was? Keep watching. We're just getting started. Cher's rise to fame. At 16, Cher left her mother and dropped out of school to follow her dreams of becoming famous. She moved in with a friend and began to pursue her dreams. She knew it wasn't going to be easy to take care of herself, so she began working as a dancer in nightclubs along Hollywood's Sunset Strip. She also made sure to meet performers, managers, and agents, introducing herself to them and telling them how badly she wanted to be an actress. While working and trying to land herself a job, Cher was also attending acting classes, learning to be a confident, versatile actress who was going to take over Hollywood. Cher's outgoing personality made it easy for her to strike up a conversation with anyone, and she didn't hesitate to approach people she believed could help her break into stardom. She was always talking about her passion for performing and her dream of becoming a star. Interestingly, an opportunity presented itself when she met Sonny Bono. This meeting marked the beginning of something extraordinary, although it didn't seem like it at the time. In November 1962, Cher met Sonny Bono while he was working for record producer Phil Spector. As usual, she told him all about her dreams, what she could do, and how she wanted to become a star. Coincidentally, at the time, Cher's friend moved out of their apartment, leaving her without a place to stay. Sonny offered her a job as a housekeeper in his home, and she accepted. He also introduced Cher to Spector and told him about her interest in music and her ability to sing. This led to Cher being used as a backup singer in many recordings, including the Righteous Brothers' You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin', and the Ronettes' Be My Baby. Sonny even produced Cher's gutsy debut single, Ringo, I Love You, recorded under the name Bonnie Jo Mason. Cher was thrilled to have recorded her first single, but she was hit with a disappointing setback. Many radio stations rejected the song, assuming the singer was a male homosexual singing a love song to the Beatles' drummer, Ringo Starr. This was due to Cher's deep voice, which was often mistaken for a man's. But this rejection wasn't enough to crush Cher. She continued working as a housekeeper and recording music. Eventually, Sonny began to pay more attention to her. They spent more time together, first becoming good friends, then lovers, and eventually, a couple. Cher married Sonny on October 27, 1964, in an unofficial ceremony in a hotel room in Tijuana, Mexico. Sonny, now fully invested in Cher's future, decided to launch her as a solo artist under his management. But Cher was terrified of performing alone. She asked Sonny to join her on stage as a support, helping her hide her nervousness. He agreed, and they began performing together. Cher later revealed that during her early performances, she performed through Sonny. They called themselves Caesar and Cleo and released several singles. Despite the poor reception at first, they kept performing. Cher also recorded other singles with Sonny as her producer. Gradually, they began getting noticed, especially after their cover of Bob Dylan's All I Really Want to Do made it to number 15 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 9 on the UK singles chart. Another group also made the same cover, but most listeners preferred Cher and Sonny's version, which brought them more recognition. Cher's debut album, All I Really Want to Do, reached number 16 on the US Billboard charts. The album was described as one of the stronger folk pop records of the era. Following their success, they changed their name to Sonny and Cher. They performed in England and outdid themselves. From their eye-catching outfit to their eccentric music, they had the whole of London screaming. Their single, I Got You, Babe topped the Billboard chart at #1 and became one of the highest-selling and most beloved pop-rock hits of the 1960s, even knocking the Beatles off the British charts. But that wasn't all. Besides their well-received music, Sonny and Cher's fashion, bell-bottoms, striped pants, and fur vests, became iconic among teens. Many girls dyed their hair black to emulate Cher's look. Reflecting on her childhood, Cher once said she never saw anyone in Hollywood who looked like her. Those with dark hair were always the wicked queens in Disney cartoons. But now, Cher was rewriting that story and becoming a heroine in her own right. Instead of looking at others and saying, "That's who I look like," people were now looking up to her and saying, "That's who I want to be." Cher and Sonny topped the Billboard charts continuously, with 5 of their songs breaking into the top 50. Cher also released several solo singles. However, in the late 1960s, they suffered a setback. None of their songs were making it onto the charts. This was blamed on the heavy and loud rock bands, which made their sound seem outdated, according to Berman. Since things weren't going well, Cher suggested they adapt to the electric guitar-driven sound that was gaining popularity. But Sonny disagreed. He wanted them to stick with their same old style, believing it was what made them unique. However, as they began to realize their approach wasn't working anymore, they decided to try something different. They made a musical film called Good Times, but it was unsuccessful. Cher also attempted to evolve her sound with her music, but her new efforts weren't successful either. But that wasn't the end of their challenges. Cracks in Cher's stardom. In 1969, Cher was dropped by Imperial Records, and Sonny and Cher was also dropped by Atco. However, Atco offered Cher a solo recording deal without Sonny's involvement. She experimented with R&B and soul music. And although the album showed promise, Sonny was unhappy with it. He stopped her from working further with Atco, trying to control the direction of her career. Not long after, cracks began to show in their relationship. Sonny started cheating on her. Cher, ready to leave him, was persuaded to stay when Sonny promised to change. He said he wanted to marry her officially and start a family. At that time, Cher was already pregnant with their son, Chaz Bono. After Chaz was born, they married legally and even mortgaged their home to finance a film project, Chastity. Unfortunately, the film flopped and left them in debt. Trying to recover financially, they started performing as a lounge act in clubs, but their show was so poorly received that audiences heckled them. In an unexpected twist, Cher began heckling back. Sonny scolded her, but she heckled him too. Their playful banter caught on and started stealing the show. The buzz grew, and soon they received an offer to host their variety program on CBS. This was a huge opportunity. The Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour became a massive success, attracting more than 30 million viewers. While they tried to return to music, their efforts weren't initially successful. That changed in 1972 when one of Cher's singles topped the charts again. However, their relationship had already deteriorated. They stayed married for the sake of their careers, but Sonny's infidelity and controlling behavior led to deeper problems. In January 1974, just after Cher won the Golden Globe Award for Best TV Actress for the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. Not so long, Sonny filed for separation, citing irreconcilable differences. A week later, Cher countered with a divorce suit, accusing him of involuntary servitude and withholding her rightful share of their earnings. The revelations led CBS to cancel the show. During the proceedings, Cher discovered she was legally listed as an employee of Cher Enterprises, a company 95% owned by Sonny and 5% by his lawyer. She was bound by contract to work exclusively for Sonny's company, which meant she had no financial or professional control over her career. This shocked her. She never knew the full extent of Sonny's control. Eventually, Cher broke free from the contract and gained full custody of Chaz. Now free from Sonny's control, she decided to establish herself as a rock artist rather than a pop singer. She debuted her own solo CBS show, Cher, which featured music, comedy, monologues, and her now iconic wardrobe. She was thriving without Sonny. The Los Angeles Times even said that losing Sonny might be the best thing that ever happened to her. Cher finalized her divorce from Sonny on June 30th, 1975. Just 4 days later, she married musician Gregg Allman. However, she filed for divorce almost immediately after discovering his struggles with drug and alcohol abuse. They reconciled briefly and had a son, Elijah Blue Allman. However, Cher and Sonny's story didn't end there, as they reunited professionally for a new Sonny and Cher show as a divorced couple. The show didn't last, as it was highly criticized following Cher's ongoing troubles with Allman and their eventual divorce in 1979. This left Cher as a single mother of 2 sons. Facing financial pressure, she returned to music, and her album, Take Me Home, became a global hit. Still, things didn't go as planned. She soon lost traction in music again and turned to acting. However, Hollywood didn't take her seriously. Determined to prove herself, Cher kept auditioning, even as she faced public ridicule. Many people laughed at the sight of her name on film credits. But Cher didn't give up. In the 1980s, everything changed. Cher acted in The Witches of Eastwick and Moonstruck and gained widespread critical acclaim, as both movies became the top 10 highest-grossing films of their time. This pushed her into full-blown Hollywood stardom. She continued acting in top movies, demanding $1 million per role, a major feat at the time. She also returned to music, winning several awards and climbing back to the top of the Billboard charts. By then, Cher had firmly established herself in both music and film as a multi-talented icon. With continuous chart-topping hits and standout acting performances, she proved her staying power. In 2003, Forbes named Cher the highest-paid female musician in the world. And ever since, Cher has become a cultural powerhouse, not just in music and movies, but also in fashion. She collaborated with top brands and even walked the runway at Paris Fashion Week in 2023, solidifying her timeless influence. From her divorce from Sonny to her rocky marriage with Gregg Allman, Cher's life was filled with challenges. One of the hardest came when her son Chaz announced that he was transitioning. Cher admitted the experience was difficult. At first, she struggled to accept it because Chaz had previously identified as a straight man until 2009, when he publicly came out as a transgender man. Though Cher had long been a vocal supporter of the queer community, she confessed that accepting her own child's transition took time and emotional adjustment. Over time, she fully embraced Chaz's identity and became an even stronger advocate for transgender rights. Chaz later made history as the first transgender contestant on the hit ABC series Dancing with the Stars in 2011, marking a major milestone for visibility in mainstream media. Cher's journey has been one of resilience, reinvention, and relentless ambition. From humble beginnings and personal heartbreak to massive career comebacks, she never gave up on her dream of becoming famous, and she did it. To this day, Cher remains active in all aspects of entertainment, becoming one of the most influential women in the world. Her story is proof that staying true to oneself and evolving with time can create a legacy that lasts forever. When asked how long she would like to live, Cher said 80, joking that she was already past her sell-by date. But no matter her age, she continues to live the dream she always had: to be famous, unforgettable, and unapologetically Cher. What do you think of Cher's at 78? What part of her story inspired you the most? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.